packed house with lots of hot music. But we're all gonna power through, am I right? That was pathetic. We're all gonna power through, am I right? Yeah! So welcome, y'all. My name is Dr. Darryl Smith. I'm the Director of Education at Jazz House. I love it. I know it's hot. I know everybody's tired, but we are going to have a great time this evening. This is the first set this evening, and we have 4 amazing groups that are going to be coming out and playing some music that they've been working on for the last 10 days, like I said. We're just coming off of our performance at Jazz and Lincoln Center at Dizzy's Club Coca-Cola, and it was an amazing time. Was anybody there? Who was there? Oh, I hope so, yeah. Did you guys have a good time there? Yeah. Can you believe it? They're playing there, they have these evening concerts, then we have another culminating concert on Saturday. So if you missed it, or if you had families that missed it, please make sure that you make your way to our final concert at the Wellmont Plaza this Saturday from 10 a.m. until about 4 p.m. It's going to be a whole bunch of fun. With that, just some things about the summer camp, y'all. This is a brand new summer camp because it's directed by a brand new director, Mr. Byrd Chatterjee. And with this year, we've done some changes to our camp. We've added a couple of amazing things, different from the last couple of years, that one of them being our ambassadors. We now have several of our oldest students leading some of our youngest students as jazz ambassadors, like getting them through the process of what it means to be a strong camper here at Jazz House, and making sure that they know where they're going, and just being a big brother or big sister to some of our younger campers, which has been really, really brilliant. The second thing that we've added during this camp is we've added the Chica Power Big Band. Anybody here is a young lady in the program? We've added this Chica Power Big Band that features all of these powerhouse young women that are in our camp. It's for some of our more experienced players, but they are swinging, and they have their performance this Saturday, which is going to be really, really awesome. So make sure you check that out. And then finally, we've added this idea. Oh my gosh, what was the third thing we added? Now I'm forgetting what we added. Alice, what was the third thing we added? History. Oh my gosh, thank you. So Oz, where did that come from? From behind the door. Don't pay attention to the woman behind the door. That's just the person that pulls the strings. That was Jennifer Grantham behind the door. She's the director of the Jazz House, New York City. But she reminded me, we have added one more element to this camp, and that is one of the most important elements. This year, for the first time ever, our director, or our artistic director, Christian McBride, is actually teaching a history lesson to a bunch of our kids, which is super awesome. So it's been an amazing new experience under the direction of Byrd Chatterjee. And I know that I'm talking to everybody that's eager to watch some kids play some music. So, you guys ready for some music? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, it is my honor and privilege to bring out this first group. It is directed by a first-time director here at the camp. This is Miss Alexandria DeWalt, and this is the Alexandria DeWalt Ensemble, y'all. Give them a round of applause.
We are going to start off with Lady Byrd by Cameron. Our second piece will be a ballad written by Horace Silver, Peace. And we'll be finishing tonight's show with I'll Remember April by Jayne. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Okay. So, I'm here to introduce the band. In the rhythm section, we got Sebastian on drums. Eduardo on horns, we got Arlo on alto saxophone. Josh on tenor saxophone. And Daniel on the trumpet. And myself, I am Ollie on the alto saxophone.
going for the Alexandria DeWalt Ensemble. So, as we wait for our next band to get ready to come on stage, whose first time is here at this camp? Can you raise your hand? Or who kids' first time? Obviously, it's everyone. Yeah. Cool. Are your kids enjoying it so far? Yes? 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 Yes. All right, thanks. Well, did you know, and this is a simple sell because my program that we run year-round is starting in just a couple of weeks. So if you are enjoying your camp, or this camp, you can continue the fun of jazz, continuing on starting in October, all year round, from October through May, at both of our locations, one in Montclair, New Jersey. That's not my cue. One in Montclair, New Jersey, and our other program, our sister program in Trinity, Trinity Church in Trinity, Wall Street. Registration just opened up, so if you're interested in continuing all of the jazz fun, please make sure that you register. We can use all of your audition videos or your kids' audition videos from the summer, how they auditioned for this workshop. It's all the same. They'll be placed in a fantastic ensemble, a combo like this one that you just heard, a big band, some improv classes. We have some elective classes like an Afro-Cuban ensemble, as well as a music business course that's new to this fall. If you're interested, please make sure that you register soon because placements are starting next week. And I'd love to get everybody and every kid that's in this camp a part of our year-round program. Is that cool? Everybody good with that? Yeah. Who's going to sign up? That's not enough hands. I just see everybody. You're like, I'm signing up. Unless you're from like Los Angeles or Peru, like some of our students from our international students, I want everybody up here and playing some jazz year-round because your kids are too good not to continue this American art form. You know what I mean? Yeah? Cool. Okay. So with that, I'm going to bring up this next ensemble because we do have a couple in this, and I know you guys are like, I don't want to listen to you talk. I want to hear my kid. So without further ado, this next band coming out is directed by Mr. Ed Palermo. They told me that their band name is called Slipnot and the Psychosocials, excuse me, Slipnot and the Psychosocials. Can you please welcome them to the stage, y'all?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to my hot yoga class. We're going to sweat it out now, everybody. All those antitoxins, whatever they're called. Is there a stand for me? If not, I can just hold this. Okay? So far, so good. Ashley, over here. We'll get a nice microphone for Madam Ashley. Oh, Ashley, this way. Any of you ever heard of the band Slipknot? It's like, what do you call that? Is that death metal? I don't know. Oscar, our guitarist, wore a Slipknot t-shirt and the first day of class, and we haven't been able to let it go. It's one of these bands where the lead singer sounds like that. And I figured if that guy ever quits Slipknot, I'm gonna go audition for him. How we doing, Oscar? Get some sound? Okay. So, Jennifer, you can help with that. And get some sound out of you, Mr. Collins? Okay, yeah, we got. Okay, so you don't need any. Okay, we're almost there, folks. How you guys feeling? You know what? I'll introduce you guys real quick. Arctic on the bass clarinet. Jeffrey on trombone. Eli on the saxophone. Nicholas on the saxophone. Ashley on the violin. Aaron on the vibes. But Aaron has a question for me. You had a question? Okay, I want to make sure that you got enough sound. Are we good? Jennifer, are we good? Who's doing sound? All right, folks, enjoy the show. 4 beats. Oh, are we good? Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, on drums, lyric. On drums, lyric. Thank you. Oh, on bass, Carlins. Once again, Oscar on the guitar. Noah on the saxophone. And there but by the grace of grace goes Grace. Is your little sister here today, Grace?
I don't know.
Is her little sister here today? No. Aww. Supposedly she's the cutest kid in the world, but all right. Another time. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the show. 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. out. But look at it this way, you've only got a couple more hours to go. Okay, we're going to end with a mashup of Charlie Parker's My Little Suede Shoes, and the other song that we mashed it up with comes from an idea, because kids would always ask me, just be real shy, can I get a solo? And I go, well, if you want a solo, just say so. So we're going to do Jojo Cat's Say So with Charlie Parker's. Are you ready, guys? Here we go. Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4. Enjoy the rest of the show, everybody.
You guys keep it going for the Ed Palermo Ensemble. Slipnot and the Psychosocials. Keep it going, keep it going. There's some great. So as we transition, and maybe the drummer, Chris can come out to start setting up the drums. Chris Delarose. No? Okay. Well, he'll get out here in a second. How's everybody doing so far? Everybody good? Yeah? What did I talk to you guys about that energy, y'all? Everybody good? That's better. Oh, I love it. So good. Hey, the festival. Yeah, so look at that. Look at this here behind me. Hey, so as I have this captive audience here, did you guys know that Jazz House Kids is the producer of the Montclair Jazz Festival? Did it? Oh, you did? Did everybody know that? If you didn't, let me tell you. Jazz House Kids is the producer of the Montclair Jazz Festival. Can we give the Montclair Jazz Festival a round of applause, guys? I have to be honest with you guys, when I first started at Jazz House Kids 3 years ago, I did not know that Jazz House Kids was the producer of the Montclair Jazz Festival. And did I soon find out after being on for 1 month, and they said, hey, did you know that Bloomfield Avenue is about to be shut down and there's going to be 30,000 people here watching a free concert all day from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m.? And I said, what? That's crazy. And soon did I find out I also had to be there until 2 a.m. to make sure everything was cleaned up afterwards. But this September, September 13th, we're hosting that same event. It's one of the largest free jazz concerts in the tri-state area. So if you guys are around on September 13th, even if you're not around, make yourself around and make sure that you're there September 13th to watch this amazing festival and take part, okay? Okay? Yes, good. But leading up to it, as like a little preview of what we're gonna do at that festival, we have one show that's coming up next week featuring the great Pedrito Martinez. So, as like a little teaser, we have one free concert next Wednesday, August 20th. Thank you. I'm hosting that as well, so if you'd like my hosting skills, you'll be like, oh, that was great. But August 20th, next Wednesday, live at the Wellmont, starting at 7 o'clock, we'll be opening with a student band. That student band is one of our alumni, Ben Sherman. He's going to Manhattan School of Music, and he has his own professional sounding band now. And then we'll be featuring our headliner, Mr. Pedrito Martinez. It's going to be a great time from 7 to 9:30. So mark your calendars, please make sure you're there. And without further ado, I'm going to bring up the next ensemble because I know you guys are ready. This man, I've met him a long, long time ago while he was teaching at the new school, and I was there. I'm not going to say how many years ago because it ages both of us. But 3 years ago, I was in college. But can you please welcome to the stage Andy McKee and the Andy McKee Ensemble.
Thank you. That working? Perfect. We're going to kick it off real quick. We know there's lots of music coming your way. We're going to start with a composition as part of a body of work I arranged in a jazz setting. It's the music of the Freedom Riders in 1961. If you don't know the history, the story of the Freedom Riders, early in the middle of the civil rights movement in the early 60s, check out Freedom Riders. And there was a body of music they sang to sustain themselves through very turbulent and troubled times. So without more about their story, you can find that. This is called Keep Your Eyes on the Prize. Oh, we're going to feature Ava on the vocal line. Oh, look. Oh. Big surprise. We got the text. We're able to project the text just to inspire and so you can understand a little bit more about the history, the story of the Freedom Riders. Okay, here we go. Is this one good? This one? Here we go. Keep your eyes on the prize. 1, 2, 1.
It's
special thanks to Ava for joining us. Yesterday, the day before, yesterday, to jump in and do the vocal part on this composition, so we appreciate that very much. We're going to carry on with a composition of mine. It's my big hit. I made a lot of money. This is called Inner Circle. So, Louis, direct background, and then say, Kyle. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, intro. inner circle. You can see why I made a lot of money with that too. I think it is. Before we go, Sky is playing the piano. Yeah. Sam. On the country bass, the double bass. Chris is playing the drums and cymbals. John Carlo on the trumpet. Tenor saxophone. Kyle on the alto saxophone. We're going to finish up with a Roy Hargrove composition called Public Eye. One, two, three.
You guys keep it going one more time for the Angie McKee Ensemble. So, oh, this is a loud microphone. Oh my gosh. You said that one was the loudest one. Here it is. Let me get this one. So, before this next ensemble, or as this next ensemble is coming out, I wanted to take a second and interview this young man right here. Wasn't he fantastic, y'all? Now, no. So, he was just letting me know that he doesn't like to solo a lot. And yeah, I know. He was like, Giancarlo was like, you know, I don't solo much, you know, I'd rather play lead. And then I just heard him backstage, and I was like, this man rips. Did you hear that? Give him one more round of applause, 'cause that was killer. So, Giancarlo, and I butcher your name every time. Tell me the correct pronunciation.
It's Giancarlo.
Giancarlo. But it's spelled
Yeah.
Giancarlo.
It's fine.
And I messed it up? I'm terrible.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry. Well, Giancarlo is one of the members of our Jazz House Big Band, and he's a graduating senior. And I wanted to know, what are some of the highlights that you experienced this year with Jazz House and some of the things that we've done?
Well, it's always been like a really supportive environment for me. I think being around other students who are at or above my level has been really great because I was able to learn from them, as well as just the staff. They've always given me everything I needed to succeed, and I've also learned a lot from them, like both about music and about life, and I've learned a lot of great life lessons.
I love it. And what were some of your favorite moments being part of the Jazz House Big Band this year?
Definitely competing at Essentially Ellington. That's a very big event. It's something I've always seen and wanted to go to. And also definitely going to Italy this past summer. That's a once in a lifetime experience.
Y'all went to Italy?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
We toured for 10 days and it was great.
They did a 10-day tour in Italy. That's nuts. Man, so some of the things that the Jazz House Big Band does, and this is one of our pre-college academy bands, and some students like Giancarlo and others, excuse me, I said it right that time. They've done so much. This year, the Jazz House Big Band won the Charles Mingus competition, which is an annual competition that happens every year. Yeah, you can give it up. They were accepted into the international competition called the Jazz Lincoln Center Essentially Ellington competition, where they came in and ranked amongst the top 10 bands there, which was awesome. Right? Give them a round of applause for that too. And like you said, they capped off the year with our first ever international tour to Europe, where they spent 10 days in Europe to sold out crowds at the Ancona Jazz Festival, the Umbria Jazz Festival, and some other smaller towns in Siena and Venice. They were killing it. So congratulations to you, Giancarlo, and to the Jazz House Big Band. And you guys ready for some more music? Woo! Okay, coming to the stage. Thank you. Coming to the stage next, as we talk about the Jazz House Big Band, I'm going to be bringing out the director of the Jazz House Big Band. This is his ensemble. This is known as Brian's Bouncers, and can I please welcome to the stage Mr. Nathan Eklund, y'all.
Good evening. Thanks so much for being here tonight. We're excited for our set of music. So, we're going to start, I believe, we're going to kick it off right off the bat. We're going to start with a great piece that was written by a saxophonist named Jerome Richardson. It was made famous by the great trumpeter, big band composer Thad Jones. He did a big band arrangement that this version is loosely based off of. But we hope you enjoy it. It's a nice swinging number called The Groove Merchant. big hand for Shabby Cox on the alto saxophone. Kayla Rosado on the trumpet. Lucy Sandor on the bass. We also heard a little bit from Elisa Hahn on the drums. This next one is going to feature our other musicians as well. You're going to hear from, you're going to hear from them, on this tune. You're going to hear from Miguel Rodriguez on the baritone saxophone, as well as Jose Andres Lazo on the piano. This next piece is a great one. We've had a lot of fun playing, and this is written by the great pianist Horace Silver, and it's titled Song for My Father. Before we do, I just wanted to share, it's been such an awesome privilege to get to spend an hour with this ensemble throughout this whole workshop so far. And we've explored a lot of stuff. You're only hearing a portion of the music that we've looked at. And but it's really cool to see how much the music has progressed in a week and a half, and how polished it feels at this point with all of that. So I did want to give a big shout out. We had 3 TAs in the group that we really appreciate. They've worked so hard, they've offered so much assistance. We have Parker on the trumpet. We have Aiden on the alto saxophone. And she's not out here, but we also have Serafina on the piano. So we're going to close out our set, just like the last group, with a piece written by the great trumpeter Roy Hargrove. This was one that was definitely a bit of a challenge, but I'm really excited with how well it's come together. It's a lot of great bebop language in this, and we hope you will enjoy it. This is Brian's Bounce. Thank you. How about a hand for Shelby on the alto saxophone, Miguel on the baritone saxophone, Kayla on the trumpet, Jose, Andres on the piano, Lucy on the bass, and Elisa on the drums. Thank you so much.
You guys keep it going one more time for the Nathan Eklund Ensemble. Brian's bouncers as they go by. All right. You guys ready for the last band of the evening? Yes. So we have one more band coming out for you. But before they do, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our artistic director, Mr. Christian McBride. Do you guys know about Christian? Anyone know about Christian? Everybody knows about Christian, right? Christian is an eight-time Grammy Award winner? 9? Did I miss one? He wins so many, I might have missed one. 9-time Grammy Award winner and artistic director of the Jazz House. I wanted to let you guys know, is going to be launching his first cruise, y'all. For the last couple of years, he's been curating the Jazz Cruise, and now he's going to be setting sail with his own curation called McBride's World at Sea. And I wanted to let you guys know about it and give you first dibs. I know I did the Jazz Cruise last year, and I hung with Christian and Wycliffe Gordon and Houston Person and Lakeisha Benjamin, just to name a few, and it was a lot of fun. So get your tickets now, because they're selling out soon. Cool? Yes? Yes? Okay, good. Yeah, we're gonna do it. Anyhow, coming to the stage now is the final band of this set. It is led by one of the long-standing members of the Jazz House, Mr. Bruce Williams. Can you give Bruce Williams a round of applause? AKA Big Solid. Please welcome to the stage the Bruce Williams Ambassadors.
Good evening, and thank you for braving this heat. We're going to get started. I think I should just introduce everybody because we don't like to talk a lot. We like to hit. We got Alex and Kira and Casa and Lucas and Jack, James, Desmond, Sam, and Veer on these instruments up here ready to let it out. You ready? All right, we're going to start off with Kenny Dorn's Philly Twist. We'd like to now play Jean-Marie by Ronnie Matthews. Can we do one more? Okay. So we have an equipment change real quick. Sorry for the heat, everybody, but we're about to make it hotter. All right? Is that okay? You know, we need to get our church fans out and it'll be all right, you know. So you about ready? Almost? Almost? Almost. So we're gonna play this song popularized by the great Woody Shaw, but is a Victor Lewis composition called 7th Avenue. 7th Avenue.
Thank
You guys keep it going to the Bruce Williams ambassadors, y'all. Amazing, right? And that's just the beginning. If you want to hear these guys again, you can hear them this Saturday at the Wellmont Courtyard with their big band concerts. Please make sure that you're there. If you haven't done so yet, we have a QR code on the screen that's registered today for our fall classes, just to keep this going all year round. Classes start in October. And then finally, I'd like to thank our sponsors. I'll put up the registration thing again in a second, but I'd like to thank our sponsors, the ASCAP Foundation, Louis Armstrong Fund, Trinity Church, New York City, Ella Fitzgerald Charitable Foundation, ShopRite of Newark, North Jersey Chapter of Jack and Jill of America, MacMillan Family Foundation, Maione, Prima Foundation, the Rosenberg Family Foundation, Ben Collins Siegel Family Scholarship, Zohar Cabo Family Scholarship, and the Kurt Rem Family Scholarship. Thank you all so very much. Thank you for being here. We hope you enjoyed this concert and have a great, great night. I said, I know it's hot, but I think you guys can be even more grand. How you guys doing out there? Yes. I love that. I love that. That's so good. My name is Dr. Smith, and I'm the Director of Education for Jazz House Kids. Thank you. So this evening we have a cluster of bands that are going to be performing for you in the second set. We have about 5 ensembles that will be joining us this evening. And you guys are in for a huge treat. But before we get started, I'd just like to thank all of our sponsors for putting this together and making sure that they keep the doors open. So before we even get started, let's just get this done at the top. We'd like to thank some of our summer supporters, the ASCAP Foundation for the Louis Armstrong Fund, Trinity Church, New York City, Ella Fitzgerald, Charitable Foundation, ShopRite of Newark, North Jersey chapter of Jack and Jill of America, MacMillan Family Foundation, Maione, Prima Foundation, the Rosenberg Family Foundation, and in honor of the class of 2025, the Ben Collins Siegel Family Scholarship, the Zohar Cabo Family Scholarship, and the Kurt Rem Family Scholarship. Can we give all of these people a round of applause? And most importantly, before we thank or after we thank the sponsors, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to all of the parents that are in the audience right now, because you guys allow us to teach your children for these 2 weeks. It's a long 2 weeks, and I know it's intense for them, and it's like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., but it is all the hard work that you guys put into them. So thank you, parents, for doing all the things that y'all do. And with that, I know you guys are eager to get into some music, but before we do, I just wanted to give you some highlights of what we've been doing at this camp, because I'm sure you guys are like, what are my kids doing? This is crazy. Are they telling you guys about what they're doing at the camp? No? Yeah. I have kids. I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. So they're not old enough to do this yet, but like as soon as they are, my 5-year-old's already starting. He's going, just like, I was like, how was camp today, bud? He's like, it was good. I was like, oh yeah? What'd you do? He was like, stuff. I was like, oh, that's what it's gonna be like. That's the next 10 years. So I'm sure it's like that. But wouldn't you know it, it's a full-packed day every day. We meet here at 9. We do some technique building on all instruments, on every instrument. We have improv classes. We have history classes. We have small group ensembles that you're about to see tonight. We have big bands that you just saw last Monday at Dizzy's. Who went to Dizzy's? Everybody went to Dizzy's? Wasn't that cool? And so all of that happens in one day. And this year only, or not only, but starting this year, we have a couple of new things that we've presented to these kids. Number one, we've changed directors. Did y'all know that? For the last 12 years, this whole camp was directed by a man named Ted Chubb. Actually, the person that hired me to be the director of Jazz House, which is awesome. And Ted was an amazing person. And since last October, Ted has now transitioned. And we've transitioned the camp to a new director, somebody that's been part of Jazz House Kids for over 17 years. And that is none other than my good friend and colleague, Mr. Birsa Chatterjee, y'all. Birsa is kicking so much butt at this camp. He was a member of the camp when he was a student, just like all of your students. Like he was 12 years old when he started. And now he's a young professional in the world, and he's a great educator and a great administrator and a hell of a camp leader. So I couldn't put the camp in better hands than with Birsa Chatterjee. It's really killing. So one more round of applause. So some of the other things that your kids are doing, something that we've implemented at this camp is we've created young ambassadors. So this year, for the first time, some of the older students that have been part of the camp before are helping some of our younger students like get around the camp, show them how to get to the classrooms, making sure they're on time, and really creating leadership, which is really awesome. The second thing that's brand new this year is we formed the Chica Power Big Band. It's an ensemble of all young female musicians that are some of our older female musicians at the camp. And they're performing for the first time ever this Saturday at the Wellmont Center. So you'll see an all-female big band, a la like the Diva Orchestra, which is really, really inspiring and really awesome. So if you're eager to see them, like I am, please make sure that you're there on Saturday. And then finally, the last thing that we've done, we have one of the most amazing artistic directors in Christian McBride. Y'all know Christian McBride, right? I would imagine, yeah? Award-winning bass player. He's the artistic director of Jazz House Kids, and he, this year for the first time ever, is teaching a history class to some of the kids during one of our periods, which is really cool. Just getting his insight to all of our young students and his historical knowledge of things in a first-person narrative, which is awesome. Anyway, that's some of the fantastic things that they're doing. If they haven't told you, shame on them, and they should be talking to you more. And with that, I'm gonna bring out the first group. You guys ready for some music? Yeah? Cool. Coming to the stage is a group that's led by a good friend of mine that I met over 16 years ago at Jazz Center Center. She is a fantastic pianist and arranger and educator. Unfortunately, with the flooding that's outside, she is not able to join us, so in her place is our TA of the group, Miss Ginger Meyer, and we are going to get started with the Kaylee O'Doherty Ensemble. Please give them a round of applause, y'all.
last one was called Crazy Race, written by Roy Harper.
guys keep it going. The Cali Doherty Ensemble, y'all. Don't they sound so good? Yes? Was that fun? Yes? I know it was. I like this energy right here. I love that. That's the type of energy I need. You guys, before we bring out the next ensemble, they're going to get set up in a second, but I did want to let you know, if you're enjoying the summer and you want to continue this all year round, wouldn't you know it, we do have a program that starts just in 6 weeks, starting in October, both in New York City and in New Jersey. So we have locations all over the tri-state area. If you want to continue your jazz education, please make sure that you register for our fall classes. We do start the first week of October in New Jersey and the second week of September in New York. Is that right, Jen?
September 22nd.
September 22nd, third week of September, in fact. Who here is thinking about registering for the fall? Please raise your hand. I love it. Ooh, I don't see enough. Wait, you're not registering? Man, I said, come on now. Everybody, I need everybody's hand up. If you haven't done our year-round program, it is really, really a joy. So please make sure you register today. We'll have the QR code up all day. You can pick a brochure up with some of our class information outside. And anyway, I'm going to bring out this next ensemble. It is led by a good friend of mine. He was one of the first people that I met when I joined Jazz House 3 years ago. Can you please welcome to the stage the Alex Lorenzi Sextet? Thank you, Dr. Smith.
I'm going to keep the talking brief because these fine musicians have put together a really nice set of 3 songs for you. So we're going to start out with Red Cross by Charlie Parker. We're going to play Horace Silver's Strollin', and then an old standard, You Stepped Out of a Dream. And this is Jashawn Rice on tenor sax. Nabiel on alto sax. Sean on the trumpet. I've been calling him my lieutenant for the last few days. That's Jackson on the piano. He always has a question and then an idea. It's like, a question or an idea? Which one? Okay, then we got Jasper on the bass. And last but not least, Jake on the drums. Jackson, Jasper, and Jake. Thank you.
Keep it going, you guys, for the Alex Lorenzo Sextet. One more time, keep it going, keep it going. Woo! All right. So another infomercial for you guys right now. You guys ready for some more information? Yes. What? Yes? I need an audible voice, guys. Okay. Not an applause. You can just say yeah. Yeah? Yeah, okay, good. When I came on to the Jazz House a couple years ago, I started in 2022. Thanks, Jen. Jen also started in 2022. Gosh, it's been 3 years. But when I came on, they hired me in July. And when they hired me in July, they were just like, all right, so when you come on, you're gonna start with our most intense summer camp ever. And I said, oh, well, that's crazy. And then after we do the most intense summer camp ever, we're also going to put you in front of 30,000 people for what we do and produce, which is known as the Montclair Jazz Festival. And I said, oh, no pressure, that's cool. And I didn't realize when I started that Jazz House Kids produces one of the largest jazz festivals in the tri-state area. Have y'all been to the Montclair Jazz Festival? Clap it up if you have. Amazing. So this year, this Montclair Jazz Festival, the big festival that we have, is going to be on September 13th. So please make sure you mark your calendars, tell all of your friends, tell all of your enemies, tell all of your family members to please come out on September 13th. It's going to be a full-packed day from 12 p.m. until 10 p.m. We're going to be featuring Christian McBride and Ursa Major. Woo, that's loud. The great Lakeisha Benjamin, Prince Hakeem, Brother Mister is going to be doing a DJ set, and of course, my good friend Jasmine Horn. So it's going to be a fantastic day of music, so please make sure you come out. And in preparation for the Montclair Jazz Festival, we've been producing these things called Soundcheck series all summer. If you could go to the next slide, Brian, thank you. We've been producing these Soundcheck series. They're little snippets. Instead of like 6 or 7 artists throughout the day, we have one major artist that comes out to Montclair and does a concert. Next week, on August 20th, we're going to be featuring this fine gentleman, Mr. Pedrito Martinez. So please make sure you come out to the Wellmont Center. It'll be a free concert, and we're opening with a student band. It'll be the Ben Sherman Quartet. Ben just graduated from our program and is a rising jazz musician going to Manhattan School of Music. So please mark your calendars for both events. That's next Wednesday, August 20th, and of course our bigger festival on September 13th. Everybody feel good about it? Woo! Yeah. And now the real reason you're here. Please welcome to the stage this next super fine ensemble. This band is directed by one of our newest members of the Jazz House. She's a fantastic saxophonist and band leader and all the things. Can you please welcome to the stage the Meredith Foreman Sextet.
Hello, everyone. So we are going to play 3 pieces for you, but first I'd like to introduce the members of the band that you see before you. On trombone, we have Henry here. Then on tenor saxophone, we have Thomas. On alto saxophone, we have Cliff over here. On piano, we have, I believe, our youngest member of the program, Gibbs. On bass, we have Miss Ruby in the back. And last but not least, we have our awesome drummer, Gabrielle. And our first tune that we will perform for you today is a tune called Recordame by Joe Henderson. tune, you heard from Henry, you heard from Thomas, you heard from Cliff, and you heard from Ruby. So next on the list, we're gonna play a blues by Cannonball Adderley. It's called Sack of Woe. And this one, you're gonna hear from all of the horn players again. And this time you're gonna hear from Gibbs on piano. And you're gonna hear from our drummer right off the top. Here we go. So before we perform our final piece for the evening, I'd like to acknowledge two TAs, which is our teacher assistants that are assigned to each of the groups. They've been very, very, very helpful for the past week and a half, including Recorded Me, the first piece you heard. They actually arranged that for the group. They got the opportunity to do that, and it came out great, so we kept it. It was beautiful. And that would be Miss Laura Simone. She's a bass player, and if you're here on Saturday at the Wilmot Theater, you guys are going to see her perform with the Chica Power Big Band that day. And then we also have Charles Suta? Dutta. All right, yes, Charles Dutta also. So let's give them a round of applause. Thank you guys very much. Yes. So for our final piece, we are going to perform for you guys a piece by trumpeter. Even though there aren't any trumpets on the stage, why not, right? Miles Davis, and the name of this tune is called Milestones.
One more time, you guys, the Meredith Foreman Sextet, y'all. Woo! It is such a privilege to work with such talented students here at the Jazz House, y'all. They are amazing, and like I said before, some of these kids are coming here for the first time, like Gabrielle, who's coming to the camp for the first time, right, Gabrielle? To some of our longtime students that are here all year round. it's extremely fortunate. I'm extremely fortunate to be, the director of education here at the Jazz House for Montclair. And some of the highlights that I think of from this past year with some of our ensembles, Melissa allows me to really push the limits to some of the things that we can do. We were in 4 different types of competitions this year, where we were in the Mingus competition, and the Livingston competition, and the Purchase competition, and the essentially Ellington competition, which was super fun. She allowed me to curate a trip to Italy, our first ever trip to Europe with one of our ensembles from our pre-college academy. We've done recording sessions. We do all of these trips around the United States. We were involved in the Mid-Atlantic Jazz Festival, and there's so much more that I have curated for the next coming year. And so I just wanted to thank our president and founder, Miss Melissa Walker, for allowing all of these beautiful things for these wonderful kids around New Jersey and the tri-state area. Can you give Melissa Walker a round of applause? And here's one of the things I can say about Melissa. There's a difference between what we do here at Jazz House and some of these other organizations that are jazz education programs. And it starts with the top. And when the top truly cares, you really, really get things done. And Melissa truly cares, Melissa and Christian McBride. And so one more round of applause just for these people that are giving 100% all of the time. And with that, I'm going to bring up the next group. They are eager to play. This next ensemble is led by actually the director of music here at Montclair State. Can you please welcome to the stage Oscar Perez and the Presentation.
Let's see for Samir. Let's see for Ava. Let's see for Gabriel. Let's see for Simone. And let's see for Shane. All right. Next tune we're going to play is a wonderful Cole Porter composition entitled Easy to Love. Dizzy Gillespie entitled Bebop. We hope you enjoy it. Bebop. There we go. Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Maria, Niall, Jayne, Simone, Javier, and Ava. Thank you so much. They did a wonderful, wonderful job. Wonderful, wonderful job. All right. Well done.
You guys, keep it going for the Oscar Perez presentation. They just came up with that name backstage, by the way. They were just like, right before. What y'all don't know is I get on stage, and right before I get on stage, I'm like, what's the band name? And they're like, we're supposed to have a band name? I was like, yeah. So they just came up with that on the cuff. The next ensemble doesn't have such a good band name, so whatever. But we'll improvise, I suppose. Before we bring out the last group of the evening, I did want to talk to you guys about something that's coming up this January. As you all know, we have one of the most famous artistic directors at the Jazz House, and that is none other than Mr. Christian McBride. Can you give Christian McBride a round of applause, y'all? 9-time Grammy Award-winning Christian McBride, and wouldn't you know it, he is a pioneer because this year we are setting sail with the Christian McBride Cruise, y'all. It's called McBride's World at Sea, and for the first time ever, he's curating his own cruise starting in January, you guys. So if you're interested, you can sign up now. There's an offer that they have, just what you're seeing here on the screen. The offer ends on the 1st of September, so please get your tickets now and embark on this premier cruise called the Christian McBride's World at Sea. We hope you get your tickets now. It's going to be really great. And with that, that's my last promo of the evening. I'm going to bring out the last band of the night. It is led by one of the founding members of our educational system here at the Jazz House. He's a longtime educator, former director of education himself. Can you please welcome to the stage Mike Lee and the Mike Lee Ambassadors now.
Thanks so much. We're going to start it off with a tune by Roy Hargrove. This is called The Vibe. All right, that was The Vibe by Roy Hargrove. That featured Noah on the alto saxophone, Alex on trumpet, and Lucas on the guitar. Also, Wes was keeping us all honest. Where's Wes? Was playing drums. Wes keeping us all honest by holding the form together. This next tune is by the great Horace Silver. This is called Silver's Serenade. Rocco on the baritone saxophone, and Holly on the bass. Next up is a tune by the great Cedar Walton. This is called Hindsight. All right, that was Hindsight by the great Cedar Walton. That featured a lot of folks. That was George on piano, Alex on trumpet, Noah on alto, Lucas on guitar, and Lark on bass. And then at the end we heard from Cole on the drums. I would like to welcome Cole's family to the, it's beautiful. All right, we have one short one. Is that okay? We do one short one? Yeah. All right. This is a tune. Oh, I want to also acknowledge Nick. Oh, there's Nick. Everyone say hi to Nick. Nick McHale has been our amazing teaching assistant, a former student here, now coming back and giving back. He actually brought in a bunch of these tunes that we worked on this week, and this following is also one of his contributions from the pen of the great Joe Henderson. This is called Teeter Totter. Oh, I'm supposed to talk over the top, right? So it's just start. 1, 2, 3, 4. I was supposed to do a little rap over the top. So I'm going to introduce everybody in the band. Again, that's George on piano, Mark on bass, Holly on bass, Lucas on the guitar, West on drums, Cole on drums. On the horns we have Rocco, Sanjita, Alex, and Noah. All right, we're going to close out with Teeter Totter. Here we go. Thank you.
You guys, thank you so much. One last time for the MacMillan ambassadors, y'all. So thank you all so much for coming out this evening. If you haven't done so already, like I said, if you've enjoyed what you've heard this evening and want to continue your jazz education throughout the rest of the year, starting in October, please make sure you register. Registration is open now, and we are taking applications until August 22nd. Thank you all, and have a great night, y'all.